Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly coffee tasting of our new coffee release at Blending Room, which this week is Kinama Hill from Burundi. Kinama Hill was brought to us by our import partners Omwani. Now they're based up in York, which is not too far from us here in Hull. The benefit of that is I get to spend a little bit more time with the trader. In this case it's Dave Burton. He was a roaster before he was a coffee trader, and now he's working for Omwani and assisting me in bringing in some really delicious coffees from Northeast Africa. So as I said, this is from Burundi. It is a natural process coffee. The cultivar is Red Bourbon. You see a lot of Red Bourbon based in this part of the world. It is a really great cultivar for the soil type structure, and it's just damn tasty. So this is a natural process coffee grown at between 1700 and 1900 meters above sea level. There's a little bit of information from Omwani based in the description below, just so that you can read a little more about this should you wish. I've also linked to Omwani's website and also to their social feeds as well. So if you wanted to take some time to read about that company, then please do. As usual, I've roasted 3 batches on our Loring. The model of the Loring is an S15 Falcon. It's one of the smaller versions of that coffee roaster, but it was applicable to the size of our roastery as we are today. 3 batches that were 12 kilos in starting weight. I find that this currently is an optimal balance between fidelity and output for this particular roaster and for our roast volume. And this was one of the first natural processed African coffees that I've ever roasted on this apparatus. So I must admit that I was a touch nervous when I was roasting the coffee for you. And I also took it upon myself to really test myself and try a slightly different mantra with heat application. You may recollect a few of the roast profiles that I've described before and the way that I've applied heat throughout that roast cycle. There is an element of the beginning of the roast that we call the soak. Now, this is forced upon us by Loring. There's a 20-second duration where no gas, well, in Loring's case it's 20% gas, but a very small amount of gas which is applied to the bean mass. Then, after that 20 seconds, I allowed the machine to go into its initial gas stage, which I tend to, based on what I was roasting on the Probat, apply lots of gas early on and taper off through time. What I've done with this roast, as you can see on the screen now, is I've applied a bit more of a pyramid style of heat application. So again, the soak at the beginning forced by Loring, and then I went into an initial gas phase, and you'll see that as the seconds roll on, I increase the input of gas before I then begin to taper off towards the end of the roast. Now, the notion with this is that I should be able to emulate a little more the processes that happen inside of a classic drum roaster. And the proof will be in the pudding when we come to tasting. So what I wanted to do as well was keep the roast time short. So short for me is somewhere between 9 and 10 minutes. I wanted the post first crack development time to be short equally, and that is to preserve as much of the fruit characteristics as possible. And I wanted the energy throughout the roast to be very, very positive. Again, that is to try and promote as much of the fruit characteristics within the cup as I possibly can. For those of you who are interested, I will do a deeper analysis of roast methodologies at some point in the future. So do make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and I'll keep you up to date as to how to roast coffee. Now that I've done a brief description of the roast profiles, let's get into the best bit for me, which is how the coffee tastes. Okay, so on the bag, you will note that I've written descriptors that say blueberry, black cherry, and milk chocolate. I like to use 3 descriptors because hopefully you should be able to hook into one of those 3. But it would suggest that there is some sweet stone fruit, a touch of acidity, and a chocolate style finish. So what we're going to do when it comes to tasting is we're going to do 2 things. We're going to use our nose to pick up some of the aromas. That will then assist us in developing a taste profile when we actually ingest the coffee and put it into our palate. So let's dig our nose in. What you'll note with this, assuming that you have it black, which should be your most preferred way of brewing, is that you get some of these sticky stone fruits on the nose. There's also a soft chocolate characteristic, so imagine milk chocolate. So it smells like a sweet, syrupy, dense coffee. So let's now, assuming that we've captured those aromas in our brain, let's actually have a taste. So, as usual, spray the coffee around your palate so you make sure your whole mouth and tongue is covered with the coffee when you're doing a taste assessment. With this, you'll find a tickle of acidity. It's not particularly acidic, which is a nice thing. And actually, it's something that happens quite a lot with natural processed coffees, and I'll discuss that again in the future. You will note a very prevalent amount of stone fruit in there. It's sweet and syrupy. The texture on the mouth is all about this syrupiness, sticky. It is delightful, so texture-led and so fruity as well. Not wild and wacky. This is clean. It is crisp alongside of those syrupy characteristics. It's very well balanced. An absolute delight. Now, I have brewed this as a filter coffee. Filter coffee is my preferred method of brewing. However, the way that these characters are put together, I think this would do incredibly well as a full immersion brew like cafetiere. You might want to play around with the clever dripper. Now, I did a video about how to brew a clever dripper beforehand, so do take some time to watch that. For espresso drinkers as well, I think this would be quite good for you. It might be a touch risky because it's quite fruity. And the risk then is, will the acidity be pronounced enough to make it taste a touch sour? I don't think so. There's enough character in there, enough base, that you should get some degree of balance as an espresso. The one thing that maybe it won't do particularly well with is pairing with milk. I don't drink dairy, to be fair, so I'm the worst person to convey that. Have a try, let me know, comment below whether this coffee actually pairs well with milk. So in synopsis, this is a natural process coffee from Burundi called Kinama Hill. It's brought to us at Blending Room by Omwani. They're based in York. It is an incredibly delicious, well-balanced, fruit-forward Northeast African coffee, and one that would be incredibly well-suited for filter-backed brewing and, should you wish, a risky type of espresso. As always, I do hope this video has proved useful, and should you have any comment about where you want these videos to go in the future, do let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, you have a great week, and I do hope you enjoy the coffee. Cheers.